Welcome to the event tonight. It's so great to see such a wonderful turnout. We'll be talking about businesses who believe in doing better for the planet. We've got some great panellists this evening as well. My name's Shannon. I am the Environmental and Social Initiatives Manager for Patagonia. I would also like to introduce you to John, who's the COO of 1% for the Planet. And we've been trying to tee up an event with them for a really long time, so it's so wonderful to have you out here this evening. And I'll just pass the microphone over to him so he can introduce the event this evening.
Yeah, Shannon, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And wow, we were expecting to have a good, fun event here tonight, but to see this level of support, this many people attending, it is really, really impressive. I'm really happy to see that. We've been wanting to make the trip to Australia for some time from the States. And finally, given the momentum we're seeing, the energy we are seeing in the 1% network, the growth in membership that we're seeing, we felt like the time was right to finally make that happen. So thank you to all of you who are here tonight for helping make that happen. And of course, thank you to the Patagonia team for playing host for the evening. We definitely appreciate it. Just for a little context, for people in the room that might be a little less familiar with 1% for the Planet, I wanted to give you a little background about who we are. And 1% for the Planet, we are a global movement of businesses, individuals, nonprofits, all working together to create a healthier planet for all of us. And we do that through our mission of accelerating smart environmental giving. Globally, or at the core really of what we do, it's a membership model. So our business members, they commit to donating 1% of sales annually to approved nonprofit partners. And I do want to stress that I said 1% of annual sales because it is a big difference from profits. This is a very substantial commitment that the brands, like the folks you see up here on the panel tonight, make when it comes to supporting the planet. In addition to that business membership model, we also have a newer individual membership model where now we have individuals that are taking it upon themselves to pledge 1% of their annual salary to environmental nonprofits as well. Globally, our network, we work with more than 1,800 brands all around the world, located in 40 different countries. They give back in any given year to thousands of different nonprofits. Some of those are very tall, tiny grassroots organizations. Some are the larger international organizations. And to date, our organization has certified well over $200 million in giving to the planet. So something we're quite proud of, but also what we're working on every single day to try to grow. And we're seeing similar success here in Australia. It's one of the reasons that we're here tonight. We're closing in very quickly on 100 members in Australia, which is a number we're really excited to get to. And really, it's in the last 12 to 18 months that we've doubled that membership. So we're really excited about the trajectory we're on. So to step back, I think, the real question for any nonprofit, including 1%, is why do we exist? Why do we do what we do? Why are we so passionate about our mission? And to that, I'd say the first answer to that's pretty obvious. When you look at the state of our planet, the threats to our natural resources, it's being threatened in ways unlike at any other point in history. You look at issues like climate change, plastic pollution, declining biodiversity, the sustainability of our food systems, right? The list goes on and on and on. These issues are real, they're significant, there's an urgency. We need to do something about that as soon as possible. I think in a room like this, it's pretty safe to say we all understand that, right? We get it. We rely on a healthy planet for our businesses, to support our livelihoods, but also to provide those amazing natural places where we all love to go and play. Whether that be up in the mountains or on the beautiful coastlines like here in Australia that everybody's been talking about. It's really important and we need more people to realize that as well. The second reason I would state why does 1% for the Planet exist is something that I think you might find surprising. And that's the fact that when you look at the broader world of philanthropy, less than 3% of all giving goes to environmental causes. That's right, less than 3% of all the giving that happens annually goes to support the planet. So when we look at the scale of some of those issues that I mentioned, and then the amount of support going to try to create solutions to those issues, it's just not adding up. And at 1% for the Planet, we really believe over the coming years, by mobilizing a global network, we can really make a difference and change that. Whenever you bring up environmental issues, I think it's really easy to kind of go dark and focus on the negative. So I do want to kind of switch over for a minute and say, you know, the reason that I'm really excited to come to work every day is that there is a lot of positives happening. Every single day, we are seeing more support. More people are reaching out, trying to figure out how they can get involved. How do they become a member? How do they take action? Sometimes those actions are really big that people commit to. Sometimes they're small, but they all add up. And that really gets to a core belief of 1%, that we really believe that we can all do more together than we can on our own. And that's something we try to live every day. So that said, I guess I could probably keep rambling on about some of that. But at this point, really excited for the panel tonight. Great brands represented. We have Stuart Palmer from Australian Ethical, Abigail Forsyth from Keep Cup, Simone Aramenko, did I pronounce that correctly? Koala, and of course Shannon Bourke from Patagonia. So thank you all for making the time to be with us tonight. It's really great. But just to kick things off, I do want to give you all a chance just to kind of share a little bit about yourselves as well as the organizations you represent. So maybe Shannon, if you want to kick things off with a quick intro.
Sure. So my name is Shannon. I am the Environmental and Social Initiatives Manager for Patagonia. I work across a number of different areas of the business. A lot of my time is taken up managing our grants program. So I do a lot of engagement with the not-for-profit partners that we're hoping to support through our grants program. Then there are also the environmental campaigns that we support, and some of you might know our Tarkine campaign or the Big Oil campaign that we've recently supported. Then there's a whole bunch of SER initiatives that I work on, and we're looking at investing quite heavily in like a community solar project. I work with our retail stores on some of the environmental initiatives that we sort of implement at a retail level as well. And so it's constantly evolving, my role, and I kind of dread that question a little bit when someone says, can you describe to me what you do? Because it's never a simple, straightforward answer. I think I'm really fortunate to be able to work with a lot of the different organisations and stakeholders that I do. But yeah, that's kind of the main focuses of what I'm working on at the moment.
Hi, I'm Simone. I'm the Thrivability Manager at Koala. I've been with Koala since they were 1 year old, and they were now 3. So I've seen the company change hugely. We went from 35 people and tripled in size. We've moved offices. We've launched in Japan. We started manufacturing overseas. We joined 1% for the planet well before we were profitable. We're B Corp now. And I think the only constant is that you buy a mattress and we adopt a koala. So my role encompasses our wildlife donation, environmental conservation strategy, our product donation, because we have returns that we donate onwards, but a big focus is on products. How do we make them more sustainable? Where are materials coming from? How do we get them to customers? What happens to them then? And then our office as well. So we're a young brand who have a lot of challenges of growing really fast, but we're trying really hard to do the right thing.
Got my own. Does that work? My name's Abigail Forsyth, and I'm the co-founder and managing director of Keep Cup. Just talking to everyone here tonight. So Keep Cup, my brother and I ran some tests with a decor soup mug back in 2007 when we saw the rise of the disposable cup and thought this is just hideous. We had some cafes in Melbourne. All we wanted to do was buy a cup and sell it in our store for people to refill, but lo and behold there wasn't one that fitted under the group heads and did all the things it needed to do. So we made our own. So for a long time was keep what is that for? Would you put is that a holder for your disposable cup? Like there was a lot of education. What's the problem? They're made of paper? No, they're not. To now in 2019 where excitingly it's like, yeah, duh, of course you'd use a reusable cup. And now for us it's what's next. What's the next part of the conversation to push this forward?
I'm Stuart Palmer from Australian Ethical Investment. We're a superannuation fund and an investment manager, so we look after money of people like you folks. But we do it a little bit differently to a lot of other fund managers. We're an ethical investor, so we have an ethical charter. which is a set of principles which basically says, hey, only invest in things which are good for people, animals, or the environment. And my role is Head of Ethics Research at Australian Ethical, so I look after, I'm part of the team which basically makes those really difficult decisions about, hey, is this company's products and services part of a better future? Is the company operating sustainably in the way it's treating its employees, managing its environmental impacts and so on. So it's, I think, the greatest job with one of the greatest companies out there.
So just to kind of kick off the conversation, Simone, maybe I'll start with you and just ask, in terms of doing better for the planet, for you guys, because you've been doing it from day one, as you said, why is giving back so important to the brand? And, how does it really help with telling the brand story for you?
Well, you're right. I think the giving strategy actually came before the brand strategy. Mitch and Danny, our founders, wanted to create a company that actually was a little bit more important than just profit. And they really believe that business is the way that they can leverage doing good and actually get that to scale. So they're both from Byron Bay, and up there koalas are facing a huge problem and are facing extinction if it keeps going the same way that it's going at the moment. And so it was an obvious thing to actually support, but something that they could tie to their business, tie to our products, and then tie it to the customers, and our customers love it. So from the beginning, it was in our brand. I would say in terms of where we see value in our brand, it makes us unique. When we launched, we were the first mattress in a box, bed in a box. There's 40 at least bed in a boxes out there, and there's no sort of barrier to entry. So it does make us unique in the eyes of our customer. And in terms of our brand, it's also the feel good of our brand. It's something that's a really easy to understand message. We work with WWF as our thank you very much, and 1% for the planet, which really gives credibility to the fact that the money is actually going to something really important. And the customers get it and they love it. So it's been a really cool part of our brand from the beginning, which has been a great thing to be in a company that does that.
And Stuart, I know at Australian Ethical you guys have a foundation, so giving's been an important part of that brand story for a long time. How do you feel about that question? How would you answer it?
So it has been part of us, and was hard to be sure exactly what was in the minds of the founders of the company over 30 years ago when they wrote into the Constitution not only that thou shalt invest in accordance with these ethical principles, but also give away 10% of the profits every year to worthy not-for-profit organisations. But that's why we do it. Why we've maintained it is because we see it as a really, a couple of reasons. We're part of private enterprise, private markets, and so we've signed up for the power that those markets have, the for-profit model has when it's properly regulated, responsibly undertaken to drive innovation and drive really positive change. Equally, and there's a big but, which I'm sure you were thinking of in your mind, that a pure focus on profit, particularly short-term profit, creates great risk for the environment, for the world we live in. So alongside our investing, we see it's really important to support civil society, not-for-profit organisations. We advocate for good government policy because all these parts of the economy and society are crucial to creating a sustainable future. And for us, it's really important because putting ethical in your name is a double-edged sword. People sort of get an idea what you're on about, but they're immediately going to challenge you and saying, oh yeah, prove it, and be suspicious that it's just a marketing ploy, it's just a label. So for us, being able to have a giving commitment and a really well thought out strategy, and being able to articulate where we're giving away money, which does meet the 1% of revenue test, I should add. Seeing us having that positive impact across everything we do is really important, I think, to build trust with our investors, our customers.
Abigail, maybe over to you in that you said, when you first started, right, the reusable cup was a very unique idea, and now it's become a bit more mainstream. So I'm wondering, in terms of the giving that you guys do, how does that impact your brand story?
Yeah, I don't particularly like the phrase giving back, because I feel that in giving back you can set up a separation between what you do to make money and then what you do on the other side. So buy this piece of rubbish and we're going to donate money to charity, so we're fulfilling our giving back. Whereas I think it needs to be a whole business approach. So for me, it's like about participation. We're in a community and we're participating in the community, and that's how we do it. So for us, we've always done things within our communities, and 1% for the Planet's just a way of putting a halo over those things for our staff and for our customers to say these are things we've always done since we started.
And Shannon, I guess same to you. I mean, obviously Patagonia has a legacy of supporting nonprofits and giving back, depending how you want to phrase it. So yeah, I'd love to hear kind of your experience with it.
Yeah, I mean, Patagonia has been donating money to environmental groups since 1985. And when we joined 1% for the Planet, it was really about formalising that commitment for our brand. So our giving program and our grants program is really a core environmental program within the company. For the first 30 years that our business was operating, our mission statement was to build the best product, cause no unnecessary harm, and use business to inspire and implement solutions to the environmental crisis. Huge mouthful, but it laid out sort of our three core priorities essentially for our business. We've now changed our mission statement to "We're in business to save our home planet," which is convenient for these types of events, so I don't have to say that whole spiel. But it really elevates our environmental mission, and our giving program, our grants program, is, as I said, one of the fundamental ways that we fulfil that mission, and so it's just great to have it elevated to that level. Our customers and our employees, they're all people who spend a lot of time outdoors. So they're surfers and they're hikers and climbers and trail runners, and their ability to enjoy those sports or those passions is really intimately linked with the state of the environment. And so when our customers come back to us and they say, "What are you doing about the marine pollution or about protecting this particular stretch of forest?" we can say we're partnering with these organisations who are our not-for-profit partners through 1% for the Planet. And so there's really a conversation that then begins, and we can introduce them to the work that's being done to save those, stretches of coastline or rainforest or whatever, and really start to build those relationships between our customers and our broader audience and our not-for-profit partners.
And Abigail, you mentioned kind of your support. You've been supporting communities, right, throughout the history of the organization. So I'm wondering, as you've been doing that in different ways over the years, how have you seen your brand kind of grow or evolve as those partnerships have evolved as well?
I think one of the main benefits has been for our team to be able to participate in, say, beach cleanups or that sort of thing. In terms of the brand's evolution, there's so much static out there about what people are doing and how they're doing it. Having a heuristic like 1% for the Planet is a good way to just encapsulate those things and get some cut through.
Yeah. And Simone, also, I mean, you have some kind of great success stories as the giving has really grown as Koala has grown. So I wonder, how has it helped evolve or kind of grow your business, those amazing partnerships, saving koalas, being able to tell that story?
I'd say it's cyclical. So we've been giving since the beginning, and we have our customer insights guy is here. So he can show that our customers are a bit more progressive, a bit more environmentally friendly. He's very good at stalking on Facebook, mass way. But we can see that people care about it, which then helps us build the business case for driving sustainability further into our products and further into our brand. So whilst we're not perfect and we're still facing a lot of challenges being a growing brand and trying to set up supply chains and everything like that, we're seeing that it's more important, and we're getting some data behind it. And I think it came from the giving in the first place. We always tried to have better than average products in terms of environmentally friendly, but it's starting to cycle further and further to actually really define who we are, besides the Adopt One model that we have.
And I would love to get all of your perspective on this next question, but Shannon, maybe I'll start with you again because of the legacy of supporting grassroots organizations that Patagonia has. But definitely we talk to a lot of younger stage companies all the time that really are thinking about building in some kind of support of nonprofits from day one. So if you were to provide some advice to a younger business that really wants to start supporting communities, supporting nonprofits from the get-go, what advice would you give them?
I think to embrace transparency. I think when you start talking about giving programs or any environmental initiative for that matter into your marketing communications, you're inevitably going to be getting questions from your customers requesting more information about how your company operates. And I think consumers are they expect more and more that businesses have these types of programs in place, but they're also becoming more discerning in terms of your authenticity in signing up to a program like this, I guess. Sometimes you'll have companies hold up a giving program in an effort to sort of distract everyone else from all the other stuff that they might be doing. And so I think when you do that, you have to know that your customers are going to start asking questions. And so I think something that we've tried to do for a really long time, and as I said, it was part of our mission statement, although it was to cause no unnecessary harm, it's the flip side of that is to acknowledge that we are causing harm to a degree, and to really be honest about that with our customers, and to demonstrate to them that it's at the forefront of our minds, and we're trying to do X, Y, and Z to solve it. So,
Simone, kind of same question. If you were kind of talking to a young stage entrepreneur that's starting to build supportive nonprofits right from the start, what would you tell them to do?
Well, I tell them to look to who they're partnering with. When you're partnering and you want to be able to tell that story, you want to find somebody that aligns with your values and the way you speak. Otherwise, just be prepared to really build that relationship and invest in that. The other thing I'd say is that you've got to find what works for you and for your customers. For us, an adopt or a buy one, donate one model works for things that people wear, like Tom's shoes or something like that. People want to wear their social conscious and show it. Ours is furniture. It's quite big. People don't normally take it out of the house to show their social conscience. So we give them a certificate of adoption. We give them a little toy koala, which is a way that they can share it online and share what they do, and then they sort of amplify what they do. So it'll be different for everyone, but ours was making it something that was more visible.
Yeah. Abigail.
I saw someone from Patagonia talk a couple of years ago, and they talked about sustainability and how it's false to talk about businesses being sustainable. It's about responsible business. And that really made me think, and I think that's important when you are starting a business, like what is the problem you're trying to solve? And in order to be able to give back at some point, you need to have a seat at the table, and you need to have a business that's viable and that works and is profitable. And the first thing I think businesses should do is look at their own supply chain and their own product stewardship and what you're doing internally to reduce waste and promote the sort of and be the sort of business, be the right sort of business. Lost my train of thought. Yeah.
I can really only echo those comments. I mean, I just think be aware that if people perceive hypocrisy in what you're doing, then a giving program actually can backfire on you. So get your whole house in order, I think is one comment that we've all made. And I guess just as an example in terms of picking the right partner, you've got to be creative and obviously try things and fail. But just to bring that to life, I guess I'm thinking of two examples that we've come across. A company we invest in, Interface, is a carpet maker, has a fantastic program called the Networks program, where they support a conservation foundation to work with local fishing communities, poorer communities, to collect used fishing nets, stop them going into the ocean, and use them as a raw ingredient in their carpet manufacture. So there's the income they're generating for these communities. They're providing a sustainable or more sustainable raw material for their carpet, and they're keeping some plastic out of the ocean. So, look for all those dimensions of impact when you're choosing a partner or a giving candidate.
Yeah, and Abigail, you kind of mentioned really trying to look at things holistically, right? It's
Yeah.
about how you do business, but it's also about how you're supporting those communities. So I'm wondering, a really important part of that is developing the right cultural kind of atmosphere internally to make that possible, because you need every team to be on the same page with that. So in terms of kind of creating that culture, or maybe even evolving that over time, how do you go about doing that?
I think it's about having open conversations and giving your team the ability to have those open conversations. The thing I forgot to say before is about partners. In 2014, we tried to sell to McDonald's, and they said yes, they would take Keep Cup in McDonald's, and it was a big decision for the business. Would we partner with McDonald's, who, our business had been built in the independent scene by independent cafes, and would we be sort of betraying the people who built our business by getting into selling to McDonald's? And then we thought, well, if we're true to who we are and what we're about, which is reducing disposable cup waste, then it makes sense, because they're the biggest provider of disposable cups. So that was a conversation that involved the whole team, and it was vigorously debated within it. And it's continuing to have those conversations. And I can see now that the business has grown to a certain degree, there's a little bit of a club mentality starting to creep into the business, that you're with us or you're against us. And I think the really important thing that Keep Cup did was it democratised sustainability in its approach. Like, it's not you're with us or against us, we're all in this together. And so it's about being really inclusive in that culture and allowing lots of opinions to surface.
And Stuart, kind of similar question for you. I mean, as you said, ethical is baked right into the name, so obviously you need everybody culturally on board with that. So how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, and I guess we're off to a good head start with the nature of the business, that we attract people who are committed to the purpose and so on. But, I mean, as Abigail said, there's lots of room then for debate. You actually raise expectations, people challenging the business, well, can't we be doing more? The answer is openness and transparency, to invite the comment and the criticism. We launched a somewhat controversial advertising campaign recently, and there was a lot of really vigorous internal conversation about whether that represented who we are. Was it a bit negative? Was it targeting a particular super fund operating in our space? And I think those sorts of conversations are so important.
And Shannon, a lot of people look to Patagonia because they know there's that culture of sustainability, of corporate social responsibility baked in. So maybe in your personal experience of working at Patagonia, how has that felt?
I think there were some decisions that were made before I started, which has really helped make sure that the environmental and social areas that we're focusing on are really baked into everybody's roles. And one of those decisions was that environmental and social responsibility is mandated as part of everybody's job. In Australia, I'm a team of one, but that doesn't mean that I'm the one that's driving the company culture and the support for CSR initiatives. I also don't sit with the HR department, and I think that's something else. We don't have a CSR department at Patagonia, but our marketing team, our retail team, our logistics team, our customer service team, they constantly have this lens of environmental and social responsibility that they put over their decision making every single day, and it's sort of this final checkpoint. Does it meet our core values and our mission statement? And so I think that's been really helpful in being a one-person team and not having to really drive that company culture from the get-go.
And Simone, just because, you mentioned, right, you guys are 3 years in, so it's more of the entrepreneurial atmosphere than a company that's been doing it for decades. So how do you guys look at culture?
Yeah, I'd love to have the same answer as you and have it baked into everybody's roles. And it is people's responsibility. Like, the customer service team will go out and facilitate donating our used products to people that need it. There's projects in Insight that do it. There's projects in marketing. Our design and product managers have it. Targets and processes that they have to do around sustainability. But we're still small, in truth. It's me just walking around, keeping it front of mind, telling the stories, getting people on board and driving it in. People join the company thinking it was a real big thing that we do. And so it is, people are excited by it, but it's still an evolution, I would say. Yeah.
And we've been talking a lot about partnerships, supporting communities, supporting nonprofits. But each of you has mentioned it's really important to be looking at the business more holistically, right? What else is the business doing to create impact, to create a healthier planet for all of us? So, Abigail, maybe starting with you, I'd love to hear, what are some of the other things you guys are doing internally to create impact that you're most excited about right now?
The thing that's keeping me up at night is there's a lot of products keep cups out there. What happens to them, and could they have a second life? So could we have a secondary market for used product, and what could we do with that, and how could we close the loop? And so they're the sort of things that, as a business, we're looking at waste in our manufacturing stream, and some ideas to do things with that. And then also looking at new materials that have a better outcome at end of life.
And Stuart, for you guys, what are you most excited about beyond partnerships?
Yeah. The second place is the transparency bit. I think in our sector, there's just so little transparency through to where people's monies are invested and why it's invested in the companies that it is. So I think, we're working really hard to explain not only the companies where your money goes, but also why we think that company or that sector is good or bad. But the first place goes to, and it reflects badly on me because it is somewhat boring, but sort of accounting standards for the planet. So, people talk about sustainability reporting, integrated reporting, and so on. We just need to find a better way to actually measure and report on our impact, because sad fact that what gets measured gets managed. It's a cliche, but in our experience, it's true. So we're looking to compare the carbon footprint of our share investments with sort of a market benchmark, and that's sort of proving up. Is our ethical charter working? We're 2/3 below the market benchmark, and we're also looking at other measures of sustainable impact towards the Sustainable Development Goals. We think that's can be exciting, is often boring, but important.
Cool. And Simone, with the products you guys create, how else are you guys looking at doing different things to, make things more sustainable, reduce waste?
And our products are our biggest impact. They use such a huge amount of resources, and if they end up in landfill, they're huge. So we have a sustainably designed scorecard, which helps the designers sort of focus on what they do. But our big thing is actually focusing on materials. We're releasing 10 new products this year, from wardrobes to dining tables to sofa beds. We've worked out if we focus on foam, timber and packaging, it covers 92% of our materials. So that's what we're focusing on. We're looking for the biggest bang for our buck, trying to set up new supply chains that'll help us get sustainably sourced or, better made or better manufactured foam or something like that. So we're really working hard to do that. So that's the most exciting thing, is new products that are going to be at a new level. And then our end of life. So we do a free take back of someone's old mattress, and it's one of our ways to try and help the problem of 1.6 million mattresses ending up in landfill each year, that will take back your old Sealy Posturepedic or whatever it is and recycle that and make sure it goes to the right place. And then when we're designing our products, we're starting to think, how do we disassemble it? How do we recycle it? Can it be reused? Does it go to charity? So those are the two things. Where do our materials come from? Where do they go as our biggest thing, and what we're working really hard on.
And Shannon, same question to you. I know you guys always have a lot going on, but what are you most excited about right now?
There's a whole host of projects at the moment that sit aside from our grants program. We're investing a lot of time and money into trying to figure out exactly what the impact is of our environmental footprint. And it hasn't been an easy sort of project for our team internally. I think also mapping out a path to reduce that footprint is really difficult. A few years ago we did, we tried to map out our emissions profile because we were setting some targets to, anything from sourcing 100% of our energy from renewable energy sources by 2020 to transitioning to carbon neutrality by 2025. And so we thought, great, let's map out where our emissions are in our business. And something like 87% was in materials and production. And that poses a huge hugely complex problem for us that requires a significant amount of investment and time and people. And so there's some of the things that we're sort of grappling with at the moment. Where can we get our biggest bang for our buck, essentially? And there's a lot of money that's going into innovating in terms of the materials that we're using, knowing that that's where that largest sort of portion of our emissions profile is. So certainly like lots of getting our house in order at the moment.
Well, again, to go back to this idea, we talked to a lot of young entrepreneurs, people running, growing businesses, trying to become more responsible companies. So, Stuart, maybe starting with you, I'd love to hear if you were to give a recommendation around kind of, you've got limited time, resources, budget. What would you recommend that they do to become a more responsible company?
Well, I guess, look at what can you do around the basic product and service that you offer. So, hopefully you're producing something which is good for people, animals, or the environment. So how can you make it better? How can you lower the footprint of its manufacture, which often is going to create efficiencies in your cost base as well. But I guess also just look at the way you sell it and who you're selling it to. So are you doing the best you can in your sales and marketing process that you're getting it to the people who are going to get the most value out of it? And also, are you careful to market and sell in a way that you're not encouraging misuse of the products? So we know there's lots of products out there which are great products, good products, but which, when overconsumed, can cause pretty serious harm. So that's tasty food, but it's also, credit that you get from your bank. It's social media, any number of things. So, resisting that temptation to just, sell as much stuff as you can, and look at creating a sustainable market for that, which is really advancing the interests of your customer. I think it's a low-hanging fruit.
Okay, very good. And Abigail, you have a lot of experience with this. Kind of where would your recommendation be? Again, kind of younger stage company, limited time and resources. Where would you tell them to start?
I'd say probably being really, just open about what your issues are and ask for help, because people are often really willing to give their time and advice and experience to you. And sometimes, problems are a well-trodden path that other businesses have been in before. So there's a lot of knowledge out there that you can tap into pretty easily if you're open and honest about what the issues are.
Cool. Something we talk to a lot of the different members that we work with is that businesses have a real power in terms of the voice they have, right? They have reach, whether it's through social media, newsletters, et cetera. They can reach a lot of people, and that's an amazing way they can help drive issues related to sustainability or creating a more sustainable culture. So in terms of the ways you guys message sustainability, these initiatives to your customers to try to get them to take action, I would love maybe an example or two of how you go about doing that. And Shannon, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah. One of the first ways that we've been doing that, and we've been doing it for a really long time, is to try and build communities around our stores. So often we'll put on an event like this. We've got a film screen up here. We'll show a short movie or something. We invite all of our customers. We also invite our not-for-profit partners, though, that we've granted through our 1% for the Planet program. And essentially what we're doing is we're giving them a platform to speak to an entirely new audience. And often what we see is there's some great conversations that come out of that. We'll have people in the audience say, I'm a volunteer with this particular skill set, maybe I can help you out with that problem. Or they'll say, I can donate to your organisation, I can sign your petition, I can go to your rally. And so we're starting to just see some really great connections happening between our customers and also our not-for-profit partners. And I think the other thing that we're doing more and more of is storytelling through film. Last year we released a trail running film called Patagonia, which focused on the campaign to protect a rainforest down in northwestern Tasmania. We launched it in May, and we sort of set this, we thought, really ambitious goal of 30,000 signatures, and we built this sort of online petition which sort of called for World Heritage protection for the Tarkine. And by November we had like 250,000 signatures, and then we had 500 people show up for an event on the grass on the lawn outside Parliament House. And then we had another person who saw the film decide they want to organise a fundraising ultra marathon through the Tarkine in April or something. And so just by creating this film and having a really light touch point with like a digital petition, we've been able to see this really incredible level of engagement across a whole range of different initiatives, which is something that we're really proud of. And if you haven't seen the film, go on our website, it's all up there.
That's great. Simone, how do you guys go about kind of encouraging your consumers to take a next step, to get involved in the issues that you care about?
Yeah, it's a tough line to tread because we're a very positive, cheeky brand, so we always want to have a really positive message. And we're talking about wildlife and endangered species. So we try and connect and empower the customers, what you're doing will have an impact. We say thank you, and we try and tell a positive message around it. So it's a difficult one. And then we rely on WWF to be telling the scientific message, and we try and amplify that. So it is always a challenge with working with marketing. How do we engage with our customers? How do we stay really true to who we are and be talking about a serious issue? We're trialling right now in terms of marketing how we build sustainability into our products, because actually everything says that that's what our customers care about. They care about sustainable products and being able to buy that, being accessible. So we're really working hard to make, the choice between affordability and sustainable, relevant for the customers, and so building that messaging in.
Abigail, how do you use your voice for advocacy or for what you believe in?
I'll give an example of a fail. So a big part of our business has been corporates, so people getting keep cups and branding them and giving them out as a gift. And we're really trying to pull away from that. So we're training our staff to say, really, does Craig Rucastle really need another keep cup? Pretty sure he's got one. But not to do that, to have some exchange of value in the way you do that. So I was giving a talk and I was trying to tell people how to refuse, and so as individual advocates, when you go somewhere and you get a goodie bag, don't take it, say no thank you. And then I finish the talk and I end up with a hat they give me, and I walk out the door with a hat after I've just said, don't take gifts. So we've been talking about that internally, and we're thinking of doing, running maybe some little videos because it's really difficult to say no and not feel rude. So how can you have those conversations? That's something we're working on at the moment.
Stuart?
We try lots of different things, and it's very much a two-way conversation. Our social media is very active, both telling us when we're on the right track and when we're not. One thing we do try to do is publish guides which encourage more considered consumption choices. So whether that's a good fashion guide, recipe books. My mind has gone blank. There are a couple of other ones we've done recently. Anyone from Australia could remind me. But they're good ones just to get people making more considered decisions around what they're buying.
Okay. Cool. I think maybe I'll ask one more question, then if we have time, it'd be maybe great. We'll be able to do a little Q&A, I think, with the audience. But we've talked a lot about what you guys are able to do or have done in the past, but we'll make it more of wishful thinking at this point and say, if you could change maybe one law or policy that you think would most benefit the planet, you could change that one big thing, you just could snap your finger and make it happen, what would you choose to do? What would you focus on? Give you a second. Whoever wants to start, feel free to start.
No new coal mines.
Really progressive and bipartisan climate policy. I think it's really shameful how far we're lagging behind the other countries that are trying to address their contribution to climate change. And I think we've also really shamefully failed our neighbours in the Pacific. And on the Climate Change Performance Index, we are 57th out of 60 above South Korea, Iran and Saudi Arabia in terms of our performance for climate change and emissions reduction targets. But I think the positive side of that, there's some really great organisations that are working at a community level. Solar Citizens and Totally Renewable Yakandanda and the city's Power Partnership program by the Climate Council, which are doing some great stuff in connecting like local councillors. And I think although there's been that inaction at a federal level, we are seeing communities sort of responding in a really positive way. So, yeah.
I'd probably say legal rights for the environment. So I know that in New Zealand there's a river that has legal rights, and imagine if the Murray-Darling Basin had legal personage, and had the right to speak in there.
I'll stick with the climate theme and just put a bloody big price on carbon, which will stop the coal mines and encourage renewables, and stop the terrible land clearing, deforestation, encourage reforestation.
Okay, so I guess at this point we would love a couple questions from all of you. I can actually pass a microphone if anybody wants to start.
My question's for Abigail. I was actually wondering, obviously, it has been a long journey to get Keep Cup to literally become a word that everybody uses, just as Pampers for diapers and stuff like that. Why do you think it's so much more difficult to get the takeaway containers for food to become sustainable as well?
So my brother is trying that in Melbourne right now with a company called Returner. So it's trying to get more of a shared scheme going. So I think the issues are that it's because of the varied nature of takeaway food and the volumes, because there's higher hazards in food safety, because it's not as conspicuous to carry around. It's been commodified, like you can buy a container in Target. So there's, Keep Cup is very visible. It's brand in hand, which has served us and is an advantage. And then I think in order for it to work, it needs to be a shared scheme in many ways, but there's real issues. I mean, I give you the O-bike. So in order for things like that to work, there needs to be a really strong sense of citizenship in a community to really drive that. I know they've successfully done it in Germany and a few places mainly with cups actually. But there are places they do it, but I think it needs to be civically driven and sort of state-sponsored in a way. Well, yes, state-sponsored.
Yeah, we got one.
Okay, so I just got a degree on social entrepreneurship, and the reason I'm saying this is I find it like a very good news for the world. At the same time, a part of all the good things that I took from it, I think that always kept coming back to my mind was this might be the new greenwash. This might be the new buzzword. So you've been doing it for a while, all your companies. So do you share this opinion? Do you think there's a risk in it? Do you think it's a better news than an actual risk? Who wants to take it? I don't know if all of you want to.
Well, yeah, I'm happy to start. I mean, I think the point that's come out a few times about taking a holistic approach to being responsible in business, trying to be sustainable, goes to that if you're just out there granting some money and trashing the planet, people, animals with your product and service, that's not going to cut it. There's a risk, but I think, the beauty, along with all the challenges of social media, the increased transparency which it and other things offers is that, people call out greenwash and, consumers are more educated to look behind labels and ask questions and demand transparency about what the real footprint of products and services are.
I'll change my answer about the change. I'd like to say tax. I think companies should be taxed more. That would make a huge difference. So in terms of social entrepreneurship, I always remember I went to a talk and there was a guy from Unilever there who said Unilever started because the guy invented soap as a cure for cholera. So businesses often begin as problems. They're problems that get solved, but it's what happens when the environment changes and businesses don't change with it. So Yeah, I think this. I'm not sure that it. Yeah, social entrepreneurship is just another skin on a broken capitalist system.
Scathing, nice.
Sorry. I mean, I would say that if you say that you're doing something for the environment, you'll get a lot of people that will look to your brand and they'll complain about the small things, which are big things, but you know there will be people that will hold you up and there's a greater risk to your business once you try and do something. I think businesses hopefully are going the right direction. It seems that the trend's going there, and you know some of the old businesses aren't changing at all, but there's more and more new businesses that are taking their place and taking market share and you know trying to make a bit of a difference, and then as they have success it'll keep going the right direction. But yeah, you're right, greenwash is an issue, but I think you know we're moving beyond that, hopefully.
Patagonia was a founding member of 1% for the Planet, so I'm probably not the best person to talk to about whether it's sort of greenwashing and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I will say that I have a feeling there are some people from organisations here that have benefited from some of our company's donations through the 1% for the Planet program, and so I think they're probably the best people for you to talk to who have benefited directly from these types of things, just through like a financial donation or an in-kind donation to their organisations and campaigns.
Yeah, just from the 1% for the Planet's perspective on that, it's interesting because people, they bring that up a lot in the conversations we have with them when they're thinking about membership. And what it often comes down to is a lot of times is 1% because it is an annual certification. So every single year, we actually look at revenue information, we look at donation receipts. So we're, in a sense, kind of holding people's feet to the fire a little bit on that. And so anybody could kind of create a slogan that says, hey, we support so-and-so, and there's really no check on that. Kind of the philanthropic space is a little bit of the Wild West in that respect. 1% for the Planet really kind of tries to provide that extra moment of credibility so that when a consumer sees a product and it has that 1% for the Planet logo on packaging or on a website or on a business card, it is that extra trust mark that people can really believe in.
So you can learn a lot from mistakes in business and in your professional career. So either what is a flop that you can tell us as a cautionary tale, either on your own personal journey in your field or as an organization?
Nobody wants to go first?
Anyway, the short answer is we invest in and we continue to invest very selectively in the financial services sector.
For us, we're setting up supply chains, and there's all this urgency to be able to launch to market. You know, we're trying to get out 10 products in a really short period of time, and this has been something that we're challenging ourselves again and again to do. We found earlier on that we went with a supplier without knowing where the timber was from, and we started ordering the product and started launching it, and then you slowly trace it back. You ask the questions beforehand, but if you don't take the time before you actually commit to a manufacturer, commit to a material, it takes time to unravel, and it takes a lot of work to unravel. So flop's been not ticking all the boxes beforehand and then realising just how important that is.
When War on Waste happened, crashed our website. We thought, War on Waste is happening. They fact-checked with us before it went on, the show happened. And so we thought, we'll probably get a bump in our web sales tonight. The website crashed. The phone rang and it rang and it rang. And so I went out into the warehouse to pack cups because I thought, that'll solve the problem. And people were calling up. And we used to have a system with our cafes where you would order, and then as soon as you paid, we would ship your goods. And people calling up going, I know why you're called Keep Cup, because you keep our money and your cups, because we just could not get the stock out fast enough. So the mistake I made then was thinking that it would just, that one or two key people could solve it, and we actually had to hire some temps in to really push that volume through and not let our customers down. So I was pretty slow to work that out because I was in the warehouse packing cups.
I don't really know. I can only think of one thing. Not me personally. I think I've tried to forget about all of the problems I've had with my own career trajectory. But I know something that has been brought up at Patagonia a lot is about rate of growth, and it's a question that comes up a hell of a lot. And this past year we reached $1 billion, and there was a lot of internal debate about whether we were proud of that. But I think, 10, 20 years ago, there was a moment in our company where we were growing so quickly, we took on all these extra people, and then something happened internally that sort of hemorrhaged almost. And so I think, I certainly wasn't a part of those decisions, but I know if you spoke to other people at the company, it would there'd be some lessons around sort of smart growth.
All right, so at this point, how about a big round of applause for our panelists? And also just wanted to highlight special thanks to Trust Tree Brewing for donating the beer that I saw many people sampling tonight. Also Balderdash Films for doing the video for this evening. And of course, Patagonia for playing host. Again, thank you. And just really thank you all for coming out. It's just been wonderful for 1% for the Planet to kind of touch down on the ground here, to feel that momentum in person. And our plan is to really begin investing more time and resources in growing the community here in Australia. We hope as many of you as possible will be a part of that. So thanks again for coming. There's drinks and food still, so we hope you hang out and mingle and connect for a while.